Hey guys, the 2024 edition of the Snowbird Outlaw Nationals delivered everything fans have come to expect from one of the most prestigious and pressure-packed events in drag racing. Blistering elapsed times, razor-thin margins, and a qualifying field so deep that just making the show was an achievement in itself. But for followers of Street Outlaws and No Prep Kings, this year's Snowbirds carried an extra layer of intrigue. It marked one of the first times since the end of the recent NPK season that several former No Prep Kings standouts entered a major organized race together, this time in the cutthroat pro mod environment. And when the dust settled after days of qualifying and eliminations, one thing was undeniable. 4 former No Prep Kings racers had secured positions inside the top 16 of a field that started with more than 75 elite cars. That's not just impressive, it's a powerful statement. 4 years, racers from traditional pro mod, radial, and track-prepped backgrounds have poked at the Street Outlaws drivers, questioning whether their no-prep skills would translate to the ultra-refined world of big-tire outlaw racing. But at the Snowbird Nationals, the NPK alumni didn't just blend in, they excelled. Here is a full breakdown of how Jimmy Taylor, Kelley, Shawn Ellington, and Scott Taylor showed up strong at one of the toughest drag races of the year, how their qualifying performances shaped the weekend, and what their results say about the level of competition coming from the former Street Outlaws camp. The biggest headline of qualifying belonged to Jimmy Taylor. After the third qualifying session, he sat firmly in the number 2 position with a stunning 3.56 at 207 miles per hour. An absolutely blistering pass and one quick enough to rank him among the fastest door cars on the planet under the Snowbirds rule package. It wasn't a flawless day for Jimmy. During Q2 he dropped a grudge race to Stevie, Fast, Jackson. But that didn't slow him down or shake his momentum. By the time Q3 rolled around, his team put down one of the cleanest, hardest charging passes of the entire event. What makes Jimmy's performance so significant isn't just the number on the board. It's the consistency and the confidence behind it. His program has been described as swinging for the fences in the final qualifying session, an indication of just how much performance they still believe is in the car. Even before the last session, Jimmy had already established himself as one of the heavy hitters of the entire field, not just among the former NPK racers but among all the pro mod teams present. In a field this deep, running a 3.56 means you're not just competitive, you're a threat to win the whole thing. Right behind Jimmy in qualifying was another familiar name, Kelley. Long known as one of the fiercest competitors in Street Outlaws and No Prep Kings, arrived at the Snowbirds with something to prove. And prove it he did. His 3.57 in Q2 was good enough to land him in the 3rd spot after Friday's session, and even though he eventually slid back 1 position, he remained solidly in the top handful of cars. One of the highlights of the weekend came when lined up against Shawn Ellington, Murder Nova, in the 2nd qualifying session. Fans couldn't have asked for a better show. Dropped his 3.57 pass while Shawn ran a stellar 3.59. Giving spectators a genuine Street Outlaws showdown in the middle of one of the country's premier pro mod events. Kai's presence in the top tier of qualifying sends a clear signal. When he enters an event, whether it's a no-prep surface or a prepped pro mod race, he's not just participating, he's contending. His program has continued to evolve rapidly since his time in NPK, and the payoff was obvious at the Snowbirds. Shawn Ellington's entry into pro mod competition has been one of the most intriguing storylines of the post-NPK world. Fans have followed his journey with the newly revamped blue Camaro, and at the Snowbirds, the car showed exactly why Shawn is one of the most respected drivers in the Street Outlaws universe. His 3.59 placed him 9th after Q3, a remarkable achievement considering the depth of talent in the field. Shawn's steady progression through testing and early season racing has been paying off, and the Snowbirds gave him an opportunity to show that he can hang with the established pro mod elite. Far from simply making the show, Shawn put down the type of number that demands respect from any competitor watching the scoreboard. The Murder Nova team has always been known for their methodical tuning, their relentless drive for improvement, and their ability to adapt under pressure. Those traits translated perfectly to the Snowbirds' environment. Blue has been working extremely well, and the 3.59 proved they're on the right trajectory. Rounding out the group of former Street Outlaws standing tall in the top 16 was Scott Taylor. With a clean 3.60, he secured the number 15 spot. Impressive in its own right, and even more noteworthy given the level of competition in the class. Scott has always been one of the most underrated drivers in the Street Outlaws and NPK universe. He may not always be the loudest personality, but his performance behind the wheel speaks volumes. At the Snowbirds, he showed once again that he thrives in competitive environments and that he knows how to get the most out of his car when it counts. With 4 drivers in the top 16, Scott's performance helped solidify the overarching theme of the weekend. Former NPK racers belong at the top of outlaw drag racing. When you condense the entire Snowbird Nationals picture, the most impactful statistic is this. Out of roughly 78 entered cars, 4 former street outlaws landed in the top 16. That positions them ahead of some of the biggest names in pro mod racing. It also silences a long-running debate about whether no-prep racers can keep up with the precision and power of track-prepped outlaw competition. The answer? They already have. Jimmy Taylor near the top. Kelley sitting right behind him. Murder Nova inside the top 10. Scott Taylor inside the top 15. That is not a coincidence. It's a sign of the level of skill, experience, and competitive drive forged during years of NPK competition. It's important to note that Nate Saylor and Justin Swanstrom faced issues during the earlier qualifying rounds. From mechanical gremlins to difficult setups, their programs never seemed to click during the first 2 sessions. But both teams indicated they expected improvement in the final qualifying run, especially with track temps dropping and air quality improving. While they didn't crack the top 16 this time, both drivers still carry enormous potential heading into the next major event. The Snowbird Nationals are now in the books, but the impact of this event will carry forward into the 2025 season and beyond. What former NPK racers accomplished here wasn't just impressive, it was historic. They proved they can run with the best pro mod teams in the country. They proved they can produce world-class numbers. They proved they belong at the highest levels of the sport. For fans of street outlaws and no prep kings, the message is clear. Their drivers don't just survive outside the no-prep world, they thrive. And at the Snowbird Nationals, 4 of them stood tall among the fiercest competition in drag racing. What made this year's Snowbirds even more compelling was how smoothly the former NPK drivers transitioned to a completely different racing environment. No prep racing demands improvisation. Drivers often have to read the surface visually, react on instinct, and handle unpredictable situations mid-pass. But at an event like the Snowbirds, success comes from absolute precision. Racers must tune for a track that is laser-straight, consistent, and unforgiving of even the smallest mistake. Seeing drivers like Jimmy Taylor and Kelley switch seamlessly between these worlds highlights a versatility that many critics didn't expect. The technical sophistication of the cars these racers brought to the Snowbirds also played a huge role in their success. Over the past few seasons, many former NPK racers have invested heavily in their programs. New power plants, advanced suspensions, and full pro mod grade technology. Jimmy Taylor's machine, often talked about as one of the fastest door cars on the planet, is a prime example of how far the technology has pushed forward. That level of innovation was on full display during qualifying, showing that their equipment is every bit as competitive as that of longtime pro mod favorites. Another factor behind the strong showing is the intense pressure that comes with racing on TV. While some outsiders dismiss the entertainment side of street outlaws, the reality is that racing in front of millions of viewers teaches drivers how to perform in high-stakes moments. That pressure hardens a racer's instincts. When you combine that with the technical demands of big-money national events, you get competitors who don't crack under fire. The composed runs by Murder Nova and Kelley demonstrated exactly that type of mental toughness. Beyond individual performances, the camaraderie among the former NPK racers was refreshing to watch. In the pits, when one car went down the track, the others were often there watching the run, comparing data, sharing observations, and cheering each other on. Even though they spent years battling head-to-head on television, they've built a bond born from surviving some of the toughest racing environments in the country. That mutual respect was evident throughout the weekend, making their collective success even more meaningful. It also didn't go unnoticed that their strong qualifying performance generated a buzz throughout the facility. Fans of Street Outlaws showed up in force, wearing shirts, waving banners, and crowding the fences anytime one of the familiar cars pulled to the starting line. Even some longtime pro mod fans seemed surprised and impressed at just how quick the former NPK racers were running. The crossover appeal created one of the most energetic atmospheres the Snowbirds have seen in years. The implications for future events are significant. With this kind of performance, it's likely that even more former street outlaws and no prep kings drivers will consider entering high-profile outlaw races. The Snowbirds proved that not only can they qualify, they can contend for wins. That opens the door for fresh matchups, new rivalries, and a wave of excitement as two once-separate racing communities continue to intertwine. The sport as a whole benefits when talent pools mix and elevate the competition. Meanwhile, the pro-mod world also showed respect. Several veteran racers openly acknowledged that the former no-prep drivers were no longer outsiders or TV racers. They were bona fide threats. Moments like these help bridge the gap between different styles of racing, dissolving the stereotypes that once separated no-prep racers from track-prep professionals. The Snowbirds may be remembered as the event where that shift became undeniable. Looking forward, fans are already wondering what the next major test will be for these former NPK stars. Whether they choose to run more national outlaw events or focus on fine-tuning their programs for 2025, one thing is certain: they've earned the respect of the racing world. Their performance at the Snowbird Nationals wasn't a fluke, it was a statement. And if they continue on this trajectory, the gap between the worlds of no-prep and pro-mod racing may shrink even further, leading to some of the most exciting competition drag racing has seen in years.